molecules. Welcome to lecture 4. Today we are going to study about the solvation and association, and first when we discuss on solvation, the solvation process is when the solute molecule, suppose we are taking this as a solute molecule A, when the solute molecule is surrounded by the solvent molecule B is taken as the solvent molecule, then the process of surrounding the solute particles with the solvent particle is called as solvation. So, when in case of solvation, when the solvent used is water, then it is known as hydration, then the process is called as hydration. And here both the ionized as well as the unionized molecules interact strongly with the solvent, and the strength and the nature of interaction influences both the properties of the solvent as well as it influences the property of the solvent. In case of solute, it influences their solubility, reactivity and color, and similarly in case of solvent it influences its viscosity and density, and this it forms a concentric cell, as we have already discussed. It forms a concentric cell around the solute molecules, and so we can say that solvation is a process of reorganization of the solvent and the solute molecules. Now, to form the solvation complex. Now, in case of solvation, there are many bond formation takes place. Mainly the hydrogen bond formation takes place and the van der Waals force of attraction exists between the solute and the solvent, and the unit of solvation is mole per second. Now, the force depends on the molecular structure. What force? The force between the solute and the solvent depends on the molecular structure and the properties of the solute and the solvent. As we have already studied in our previous slides that the if there are structural similarities and similarity in the properties of the solute and the solvent, then it will result that the solute will be soluble in that particular solvent. For example, polar solvent will able to dissolve polar solutes, nonpolar solvents will able to dissolve nonpolar solutes. In case of polar solutes, what happens? This the polar solvent molecule is able to solvate the polar solute and ions, because as we have already studied about how water can able to dissolve sodium chloride. Here what happens? As for sodium chloride, the cationic part of the ion compound, that is sodium, get attracted to the negative part of water. So, water has the ability, water is a polar solvent. So, it has the ability to arrange in such a way that its negative portion, partially charged portion of the molecule will be faced towards the positive charged cation, that is the sodium cation of sodium chloride. It has a slightly positive charge. So, these in this way they surround the cation, they form a solvation cell around the cation, and in this way they stabilizes the system. Now, when we talk about the solvent, suppose we have solvent B, here we have solvent B and we have a solute here. Now, this solvent B molecule which is at the vicinity of A, they will have a different ordering or different orientation and different influence compared to this solvent molecule B, because here we can see this solvent molecule is surrounded by the solvent molecules only, and here we can see that this solvent molecule is coming in close contact with the solute. So, the orientation or they have a different ordered solvent molecules. So, the area, so this area of differently ordered solvent molecule can be called as cybotectic region. This is called as cybotectic region. Then we will just discuss about the thermodynamics of solvation. So, before discussing this thermodynamics of solvation, already we have discussed the thermodynamics of solution formation with regard to your with regard to the energy or work done. So, now we will discuss with relating it to the enthalpy, change in enthalpy and change in entropy, and this del G is the free energy change of mixing, and del H m is the enthalpy change of mixing, and del S m is the entropy change of mixing. Now, as we have already studied, again the same 3 steps we will just recall it, and here what happens, formation of vacant space in the solvent. So, there is a increase in del H takes place, that is change in enthalpy increases, and the change in entropy it may either increase or it may decrease, and then the step 2 where the one molecule separated from the solute molecule and your del H may increase, but your del S will always decrease, that is the change in entropy will be less, and here in step 3 the solute molecule will occupy the vacant space of the solvent and del H will increase and del S will decrease. So, if we want that our solute should be soluble in the solution, then the change in Gibbs free energy should be negative, it should be negative, then only the solute will be solubilized in the solvent. And as we know, we can go to this equation, if we want our del G to be less, then we want this term del S m to be greater, and we want this del m to be del H m to be negative, then only this del G will be negative. So, when we as we have discussed in our lecture 2 that basically we consider that in case of regular solution, what happens, heat is absorbed. So, when heat is absorbed, then that means then there is a positive change in heat, that is del H becomes positive. Okay. Now, what happens in this case, we had already considered that your W12, the force of attraction between the solute and the solvent. 1 stands for solvent and 2 stands for the solute. W12, 1 is for your solvent and 2 is your solute. So, what happens when we talk about this W12 and it expresses the interaction between the solute and the solvent molecule, and it's basically when we are discussing the regular solution, and in that case we discussed that the force mainly which we consider is the van der Waals force of attraction, and there was a restriction in the van der Waals force of attraction. If we because van der Waals force of attraction it follows your geometric mean. So, if we use the geometric mean, then your del H will always be positive, but we want it to be it will be always be positive, but what we want? We want this del H to be negative. So, if we remove that restriction, if the restriction of geometric mean is removed, then what will happen? This 2W12 will be greater than that of W11 and W22. Here 11 means the force of attraction between the solvent and here the force of attraction between the solute, and your del H can become negative. Okay? And this can be seen if in place of van der Waals force of attraction, we can think that other bonds may also form, like hydrogen bond formation. If hydrogen bond formation takes place, then what happens? This del H will become negative, and this may lead to the negative deviation of Raoult's law. We will study about Raoult's law in our coming lectures. Okay? And here their hydrogen bonding will occur between the solute and the solvent. And what will happen in this case? In this case, it will favor the solubility of the solute in the solvent. Means the solubility of the solute in the solvent will increase. Solubility of solute in the solvent increases. Okay. Now, we will come to your association. What happens in case of association? So, we studied that in solvation the solubility of the solute in the solvent was favored, but what happens in case of association? In case of association, the like molecules will form association with each other in a solution, and this is referred as association. What happens? Suppose here we have two molecules, we have the molecules, we have the solvent molecules and we have the solute molecule. Suppose A is your solute molecules. Then as we are adding this solvent molecule to the as we are adding the solvent molecule to this solute, then what happens, or we can say it vice versa, as we are adding the solute to the solvent, then what will happen? Suppose this B will form association with each other. So, as it forms association with each other, that means B will be binding with each other, and this happens in case of water, because water molecules have both hydrogen as well as oxygen atoms in it. So, one hydrogen molecule of one hydrogen atom of water molecule can form hydrogen bond with the other water molecule's oxygen atom due to its electronegative difference. So, the water molecules, if we take in place of B, if we consider water, then they form hydrogen bond with it among themselves. So, they form a association among themselves. So, this solvent is no more available for the solute A to cover it. So, what happens? The solubility between this solvent and this solute decreases, solute decreases. Okay. So, what happens? This can also be understood if we consider the example of benzoic acid, because benzoic acid in nonpolar solvent, it has the tendency to form to stay in dimerization state, means two molecules of this benzoic acid will remain, this benzoic acid will remain in contact with each other, means forming association. So, as it forms association, it will the nonpolar solvent will not able to form or solvate it. As it is not able to solvate it, so it will not be solubilized in the nonpolar solvent. And same as we studied the example of water molecules, as they form hydrogen bond among themselves. So, water, if we take water and benzene, they will not mix with each other, as they form hydrogen bond, this water forms hydrogen bond. So, it will not be able to solvate the benzene molecules. And if we talk about the ion species, what happens in a chemical reaction? Oppositely charged ions will combine together, they will combine together to form a association or distinct chemical entity. Now, association, this association, so it will lead to positive heat of solution, it will lead to positive deviation of Raoult's law, and the association of water molecule is reflected in a large W11, that is the solvent attraction is more. And when this water is mixed with a nonpolar solvent, so as this W11 is much larger compared to that of the attraction force between W22, that is the solute attraction and the solute solvent attraction. So, the solubility will decrease. So, the solubility will decrease. So, if we compare between the association and solvation, what points we can get is, if we take solvation and association, if we compare between these two, what we get? Here the solute molecule is surrounded or covered by the solvent molecule. This is B. And here the association is formed between the two, either between the two solute molecules or between the solvent molecules. Both are not available for each other. So, here here mainly we consider forces like your hydrogen bonding. Here also hydrogen bond is formed, but here we talk about the intermolecular forces, but here we talk about intramolecular forces. Then the next, here in case of solvation and your association, in case of solvation what happens? We have negative heat of solution. Here we have positive heat of solution, and here it leads to negative deviation from Raoult's law. It leads to positive deviation from Raoult's law. Okay? And so, what happens here? The solubility increases. Here the solubility decreases. Okay. So, these are certain points which is related with your solvation and association. Then comes your ion solvation. Now, this ion solvation occurs when the oppositely charged ions in a solution, they come together with each other and they forms and they come together and they form a chemical entity of this opposite charged. Now, these ion associations, basically the extent of their association depends on the dielectric constant of the solvent. Their extent or the force which is present in between these ions and all, these association basically depends on the dielectric constant of the solvent. Dielectric constant. Dielectric constant. Okay, it depends on the dielectric constant of solvents. Okay. Now, according to the nature of interaction with the solvent, we can classify these ion association into contact, solvent shared and solvent separated, and fully solvated ion pairs. In case of contact, suppose these are the two ion pairs, then they will be covered by the same solvent. This is your contact ion association. Okay. Okay. Then comes your solvent shared or solvent separated. This will come under your solvent shared or solvent separated. Okay. And then comes your fully solvated ion pairs. Here These are your fully solvated ion pairs. Okay. And these ion association are basically this ion association, they depends on the Coulomb's law. They depends on Coulomb's law, because these ions are held together by electrostatic force of attraction. So, they follows Coulomb's law. What does the Coulomb's law state? Coulomb's law state that the force of attraction, Coulomb's law states that the force of attraction between the two ions depends on the charge of two ions. It is a product of, it is the product of the charge of two ions divided by dielectric constant multiplied by the distance between the two ions. And this basically this Coulomb's law and this ion association can be characterized by vibrational spectroscopy. We can use vibrational spectroscopy to characterize this and to find out the forces between these ion associations. Then comes determination of the solubility. Now, how we can determine the solubility of a drug in a solution, or how can you find out the solubility of a drug? For that, first we have to select the drug, then we have to select the medium and the experimental condition, then we have to prepare the saturated solution at a constant temperature, then we have to separate the undissolved drug from the saturated solution, then we have to determine the concentration of the drug in the solution by analytical method. First step is selection of drug. So, first we have to select a pure drug, then comes selection of medium. When it comes selection of drug, we have to first select a pure drug, then comes medium. When we select medium, we have to focus that what type of study we want, whether we want a pre-formulation study or we want for biopharmaceutical studies. If we want to carry out the pre-formulation study, then we have to find out the intrinsic solubility. Intrinsic solubility means the solubility of the drug when it is in unionized state. So, what we have to do? We have to find out, then we have to carry it out this study either in your 0.1 N HCl or 0.1 N NaOH and water. And if we want to do biopharmaceutical studies, then we have to study it at pH ranges from 2 to your 8. If we want to do biopharmaceutical studies, and for experimental condition we have to select either we select 4 degrees Celsius temperature or we select and we select 37 degrees Celsius. We do it in these two temperatures. Then we prepare the saturated solution, we take the solvent, we just keep on adding the solute until some of the undissolved part remains in it, and then we filter out and we separate out the undissolved drug, and then we get the saturated solution. Then we determine the concentration of the drug using various analytical method like gravimetric method, titration, and by UV and HPLC spectroscopic method. Thank you.